Welcome to Bible Explorers. First up, worship time with Miss Stephanie, Mr. Andrew, and Isabella.
Okay, we're going to sing This Little Light of Mine, and remember, no matter where you are, whether you're at home, with your brother, with your sister, your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, you can always let your light shine.
You guys stomp your feet like that? Now let's clap together. That's it. Keep going. Sing this little light of mine.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Keep clapping now. Sounds good? Everywhere I go.
Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Oh, that sounds so good. That's called clapping on the back. I'll sing this little quiet again.
When I'm afraid, I'm gonna let it shine. Even when I'm afraid, I'm gonna let it shine. Even when I'm afraid, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
We're going to sing Follow Him.
Look up to where eagles fly. A rainbow splashed across the sky. A sign that God sustains our land. Mighty works all by His hand. Our God is so awesome in power. The Father forgives all our sin. The Son holds the whole world together. The Spirit is power within, so we will follow Him. Died for us to take our sin, conquered death and rose again. A sign that God redeems our lives. Jesus came to make us right. Our God is so awesome in power. The Father forgives all our sin. The Son holds the whole world together. The Spirit is power within, so we will follow Him. So we will follow
Accuser comes at me as quick as he can, but no weapon formed against me will stand. I am redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, protected forever by the great I am. There's victory in Jesus, there's victory in Him. He gave me grace, I gave Him my sin. He died on the cross and then He rose again. There's victory in Jesus, there's victory in Him. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y, this will be our battle cry. The tomb is empty, He's alive. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. The enemy better run and hide. The King of Kings is on our side. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Let's go. B-I-C, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. B-I-C, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. B-I-C, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Split the B, tap the I, spin the C-T-O-R-Y. B-I-C, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. B-I-C, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. B-I-C, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. Split the B, tap the I, spin the C-T-O-R-Y. Spin around, spin around. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. There's victory in Jesus, there's victory in Him. He gave me grace, I gave Him my sin. He died on the cross and then He rose again. There's victory in Jesus, there's victory in Him. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y, this will be our battle cry. The tomb is empty, He's alive. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. The enemy better run and hide. The King of Kings is on our side. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. This will be our battle cry. The tomb is empty, He's alive. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y, B-I-C-T-O-R-Y. The enemy better run and hide. The King of Kings is on our side. B-I-C-T-O-R-Y.
Good job!
Now games with Mr. Andrew.
Okay, hey guys. So we're gonna continue with our games, and we actually have a pretty fun game this week. So I just want to present my mom, Miss Jasmine. So the objective of this game, it's Tic Tac Toe, but with cups. So I'm gonna explain it right now, and then we're gonna do a game, best 2 out of 3. Okay, Mom, and see who does best. Okay. So the objective of the game is you guys are gonna want cups, plastic cups that you can like write with a marker or whatever. I have the X's, and my mom has the Y's, right there. So the objective of the game is to flip a cup before you place a cup in the what do you call those, like a hashtag, the hashtag. So okay, so when you flip the cup, when you flip the cup, you want the cup to be kind of halfway over the edge, and then you flip it, or you try to flip it, and then you flip it again, and when it lands like this, you can put a cup wherever you want, and the first person to put 3 cups in a row, like Tic Tac Toe, wins. All right, you get it, Mom?
I get it.
Okay, cool. So okay, so Rebecca, tell us 3, 2, 1, go, and then we'll go and we'll play the first game. Okay? All right. So get ready, Mom. Get a cup ready like that.
So we have to do it both at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's to see who can go the fastest,
okay,
and who can get the 3 in a row first.
All right,
guys. And I hope you guys are doing it at home. So all right, whenever you're ready, Rebecca, take it go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Oh wait, I'm flipping it wrong. Sorry. Flip it like this.
It has to be like this.
Yeah, like this.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
No.
So then I have to keep on going?
Keep on going until you get 6.
Oh, but it's like this.
Okay. Oh. Don't drop it. Dude, this is harder than I thought.
Oh, there you go. Why?
of 3. So we'll play it. If I win, that's it. Next game. But if you win, we play another game. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I just
be
won.
like this.
Yeah, it has to be like this. Okay. So I just won that first round, and then now we're gonna play the next round. So if I win this round, I win the whole thing. If you win, we play another game.
Okay.
All right, so best two out of 3. All right. So Rebecca, say. Ready? Go.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yes.
Do it. Right. I struggle with it.
Oh, come on.
Dude.
Oh!
No, wait. You won.
Oh, I won! Yay! Okay.
All right. So now let's see who wins the whole thing. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Here we go.
get your cups ready.
Okay.
All right.
Ready, set, go.
Oh, wow!
Dude.
Yes! Y wins! Woo!
All right, guys. All right. So obviously my mom won the whole thing. So yeah, just get if you guys have any plastic cups, or if you guys want to use cups that are not made out of glass, you know, you guys can play this game. But yeah, so that I hope you guys enjoyed this game because it was pretty
fun.
It was fun. Yeah. So all right. I hope you guys
Bye.
enjoy your day. Bye. Hi guys. So we're gonna be doing the blindfold game again. We did this weeks ago. I don't know if you guys remember, but Ruth, Sammy, and Hessler, they blindfolded me, and then they gave me a minute to guess as many things as I can. And today, my mom's helping me out. Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
So she's gonna give me these items that she's picked out for me. I don't know where they are. They're here. And she's gonna give me a minute to guess as many as I can. And for you guys at home, just have your parents grab as many things as they can and time you and see how many you guys can get. All right.
Okay.
Ready, Mom?
I'm gonna time you, and I'm gonna time you for. Don't mind my phone. It's horrible. It's broken and it's ugly.
She's dropped it too many times.
So I'm gonna give him a minute. 1, 2, 3, go.
First time. Oh, this is a speaker, a pill speaker for the Bluetooth
Okay.
for our phones.
Good. 1. It's right in front of you. It's rolling. There you guys.
Oh, chapstick. This is chapstick.
Okay.
Is there any right now?
2. No, that's color. That one has color. You don't want to use that one. Okay. Here.
Oh, thank you. What's this? Is this nail polish?
Nope.
What is this? Is this cologne or perfume or whatever?
No.
Dude, what is this? Is this paint?
No.
It's small. Okay, pass. Give me another one.
Okay.
Mascara.
No.
Oh, this is makeup though, right?
Yeah. But what is it called?
A mirror.
It's got a mirror, yes.
Mascara. You use the thing
No.
and you go like with your cheeks.
That's mascara. That's not mascara. Okay. Time's up.
What was it? What was it?
It was it's called foundation compact, I guess you can say.
How am I supposed to do that?
Yeah.
You took forever to name it. All right, just
Okay.
give me. I just want to know what else you have. Oh, this is baseball.
Okay.
Hand sanitizer.
Yes. Last but
So I
not
only
least.
had 3. I only had 3 right,
Yeah.
but what is this? Is this yogurt?
No.
I don't know what this is. What is this?
It's a K-cup.
A what?
K-cup for the machine, for the coffee machine, for
Oh,
the Keurig.
I don't know that. What was that thing? What is it? Oh,
It's a little Tabasco sauce.
Okay, well, I didn't know what that was. All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this game. Just try to see how many you guys can guess right, and I hope you guys have a good time at home. Bye, guys.
And now, time for Bible study with Mr. Goss.
Hello, welcome back to Bible Explorers. Now, remember we're in the middle of a 4-part series on what to do when trouble comes. And today's lesson is Jesus protects us. Before we start though, I have a little video that I want you to watch. And now, it may not seem like it has anything to do with the lesson, but I will be back in a minute and a half to explain it.
Hi, my name's Pete Smith, and I'm a forester and an arborist for the Arbor Day Foundation. And we're here to talk today about winter pruning for some of our landscape trees. What we have here is a tree that really has not received a lot of care over the years. So I'm going to use this as a way to talk about some basic rules that you might consider when you get around to pruning the trees in your own home landscape. When we look at our trees in our landscape to prune, we want to have some goals in mind. And there are 3 main goals for doing pruning on our trees. The first is safety. We want to make sure that as people move around the trees, whether they're walking or walking underneath the tree, that the trees are safe. The second reason would be for the health of the tree itself, where we can take away branches or portions of the tree that might be diseased or broken. And then the third reason is aesthetics. We plant the trees in the places where we live and work and play so that we can enjoy the beauty of the tree, and we can use pruning to make sure we're getting the most out of every species that we plant.
So in the video, it's talking about pruning a tree. Now, what do you think the tree feels about when you start chopping branches off of it? You think perhaps it might feel that that's the day that trouble has come? Do you think the tree likes having its branches chopped off? Probably not. But why was Pete Smith chopping the branches off? He gave 3 reasons. 1 was for the safety of people around it. 2 was for the health of the tree itself. And 3 was to have it look good. Now, the tree is made for looking good, and so when he's cutting the branches off to make it look good, he's making it so the tree make it do what he wants it to do. When Pete does that, does he start lopping branches off because he hates the tree or because he loves the tree? Well, it's because he loves it. He wants the tree to be better. He wants it to be safe. He wants it to be healthy. He wants it to do its best. What about when Jesus comes and we start having what we think is trouble? Well, guess what? That's when Jesus is working in our lives. He's changing us so that we're safer for those around us, so that we become healthier and grow better. And don't forget, God has a plan for your life. Now, when He plans out your life, do you think He wants to direct you to go the direction He wants you to go in that plan? Yeah. So He may take away something that seems good so that you'll go in the direction that He has planned for your life. Is there a verse, though, that would actually talk about this? Let me read one.
Philippians.
Chapter 1, verse 6, with glasses so I can see what I'm reading. And I am sure of this, that He who began a good work in you, so those that have been saved, will bring it to completion in the day of Jesus Christ. So that good work is the plan that God has for our lives. And he's going to make sure that we complete it, so that when we go up to heaven, it'll be done. So yeah, God works on pruning us to make us follow the plan that he has for our lives. Now, are we going to accept that pruning or complain about it? Well, let's watch the next part of the video.
What I'm going to demonstrate today are what I call the ABCs of pruning. And the A stands for assess. So we're going to take a look at the tree and try to make some judgments about how healthy is the tree. Has it been growing at a fast pace or a slow pace? We're going to look at the setting that the tree is growing in. Is it in a place where people travel frequently? Or is it in a place where we can have a more natural form? And then we're going to talk about the species of the tree. We want to try to maximize the natural form that every species has, and we can do that through some of our pruning. One important step in assessing the tree as we move around it from side to side would be we want to find the central leader for the specimen. What is the branch that is going straight up through the center of the tree trying to reach the sky?
The first thing that he does when he goes to prune a tree is he looks at the tree and decides where that center lead is. Now in our life, that would be God's purpose for our life. So Pete looks at that tree, he decides where the center lead is, and once he's decided that, then he can make the decisions about what to start pruning. Well, let's go back to the video and see what's next.
So the B in our ABCs of pruning stands for bad branches. And by bad, we're talking about branches that are dead, or they're damaged in some way, or they may even be diseased. And we want to focus on those branches first as a priority for our pruning cycle on this particular tree. So one branch on this tree that we have that is very damaged is this branch right here, and it's competing with our main central leader that we've already established in this tree. And it's got some dead bark on one side, it's got a bad branch angle, so this is definitely a bad branch that we're going to want to remove. So here's a situation where we do have a bad branch. This is where we have two branches that are actually in contact. So here's a situation where we're just going to remove this branch, and we're going to try to cut right outside the branch collar. So one of the branches that we identified early on, that's one of our bad branches, and we're going to go ahead and remove this right here. So now you can plainly see what remains is that central leader that we identified early on. That becomes the real focal point for this tree.
All right, so what do you think the bad branches might represent in our lives? Remember, they were diseased or broken or just misshapen. What might that represent in our lives? Ah, yes, it's sin. The sin that we do, that we're tempted to do. Those things are represented by the bad branches. And so God works to prune those bad things out of our lives. Now, it can also be people that try to lead us into sin. So let's look at a couple of verses out of the Bible that have to do with that. The first one, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 11 and 12. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline. See, that would be trouble in our life. If we're being disciplined, that's usually trouble, isn't it? Or be wary of his reproof. In other words, when he's telling us how we should change. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. So if you have a good father, he's going to try to train you and remove the bad things from your life. Well, God is like that father. He loves us very much. And he's going to try to change us to remove those bad things out of our lives. Well, there's another verse here. And this one is in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. And that says, "For the moment all discipline seems painful." So, trouble. It's painful to be disciplined, isn't it? But later, it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. So, when he's training us, when he's giving us trouble in our lives to remove those bad branches, those sins from our lives, he's doing it because he wants us to grow to be like him, to be righteous. Well, let's go back to the video. Let's see what's next.
So finally, we have the C's in our ABCs of pruning. And that C stands for competing branches. Now you remember that we identified the central leader of the tree during our assessment. And we want to take a look at all the other branches that might be competing with that leader, and those become candidates for removal or reduction. So here we have a branch that's coming off the trunk of the tree, and immediately the most vigorous part of this branch goes straight up and is actually trying to draw energy away from the central leader and create its own leader. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do another reduction cut on this competing lateral by taking off this particular portion of it above my hand and leaving what remains, and that'll slow down the growth of this particular branch. Now I've got one more competing lateral that I really want to try to diminish using one of our reduction cuts, because this one is definitely competing with our central leader for this tree.
All right. So now he's talking about competing laterals. Now, so he's got the center trunk still, and that's the plan that God has for our life. But then the tree had other branches that went off and were trying to compete with that center part, wasn't it? And so he cut off two of those that were trying to compete with the center life, that center branch being the plan for our life. Now, were those competing laterals, the branches going up, were those sins? No, not at all. They were perfectly good branches. But they weren't what God had planned for our life, were they? So sometimes trouble comes in the form of taking away something that seems perfectly good to us, but it isn't what God has planned for our lives, is it? And so he cuts those off, and we feel hurt and upset. But isn't that going to lead us to be more like what God wants for us? Remember, he cut those lateral branches off to make the tree better. Well, let's see if there's some verses that might support that. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. For this light momentary affliction, in other words, trouble, is preparing for us an eternal weight of glory beyond all comparison. So it's preparing us to do the job that God wants us to do, isn't it? It's not talking about lopping off sins here. This is good things in our life that are being troubled. But they weren't the plan, were they? As we look not to things that were seen, but to things unseen. So we look around, we see this as being trouble, don't we? Is that the focus we should have? Or should we focus on what God is doing in our lives to get us to be what He wants us to be? For the things that are seen are transient. That means for a short time. So we look around at the world. The things in this world, they're not going to last. But the things that are unseen are eternal. That means that the plan that God has for us both here and in heaven, that's eternal, isn't it? Is that worth more than what's here? Of course it is, because here is not going to last. Okay, so how should we act then? If God is doing this for our benefit, how should we act when we're having trouble? Should it be, oh God, I hate you? Is that the way we should act toward God when He's working to make our lives better? No, not at all. There's a verse for that too. Okay, this one is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. So we should trust God because He loves us, and because, although it seems like trouble, we understand it as trouble. It's really not. Trust that God knows what He's doing. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. So as He's leading us through life, He's pruning off the bad sins, and He's pruning off maybe things that seem good, but aren't taking us in the right path, are they? Not the path that He's chosen for our lives. So when there's trouble, is Jesus protecting us? Well, of course, He's not only protecting us, He's using it to lead us in the right direction. Well, I got one more little short video. This is a different person, though, this time.
Hey, it's Vanessa, the Crafty Gemini, and I post weekly crafting, cooking, and now even some organic gardening videos here on my YouTube channel. So today I'm going with the second video in my gardening series that I just started. I did one already on how I started my little seedlings in these trays to get them started planting the vegetables from seed. And so now in this video, I'm going to walk over to my garden. I've already prepared the little garden rows and the beds that I'm going to be planting these in. And I'm going to transplant some of these into the ground so you can see how I do it.
I will try my best, Ma.
Okay.
I will try my best.
Try your best.
I like to pick it from whack or this. Or this.
Good job. Okay, so I'm in the garden here. I've already prepped out some rows. I've gone with this little 3-prong cultivator thing and just loosened up the soil a bit down the entire row where I'll be transplanting my seedlings. And then I'm going to have Jonathan. Jonathan, you want to dig me a hole right there, please?
I will dig. No.
A hole here. Next one is right here. We've got to give them some space, at least 12 inches for the bok choy. So all I'm doing is squeezing this up, and I'm trying to tug on the leaves and not the stem, okay, of the seedling. If it's a little dry, just moisten it with a little water. We'll put some dirt around it so it doesn't get completely buried, and then just lightly tamp down around it. I'm going to continue this full row, and then I'll go back and just water them in lightly. So I usually like to water them in with the hose setting either on mist or shower. You can see it's nice and light. You don't want anything too strong like that. It's going to knock your seedling out. So just mist it. And the best way is really to get down and close so that you know that the water is getting right to their roots. And it looks like it's going to rain here today, so I'm just going to do a little bit because they'll probably get watered in a couple of hours. All right, so we're getting ready to transplant in. It's called Bilko Chinese cabbage. In my seed starting video that I'll link to right here, that's the package that I was starting and teaching you guys how to plant. So now my seedlings are a good size. They have about 4 to 6 leaves each one. And so we're going to start transplanting them in here. So I'm excited to grow these because I'm going to be trying my friend Mang Chi's kimchi recipe using my own homegrown cabbage. Okay, Jonathan, let's put this. Since it rained here yesterday, the soil is kind of nice and wet, so I'm not going to go ahead and wet my seedlings too much. I'm just going to, I want to make sure that they're not too wet. But I just carefully hold around the little plant and then bring the dirt around it, making sure that I'm only planting it as deep as it was planted inside the starting tray. There are some plants that you can plant deeper, like tomatoes and things, but for most plants, you want to just plant them at the same level that they were in the seed starting tray. I lightly tamp around it, and that's it. Now we're going to move over, Jonathan. I need you to dig another hole here, about 12 inches down.
Can my friend wait me and go in my farm? Mommy likes me. I go grab me, and I said no creasing too much.
All right, so in this video, it's talking about transplanting. So they had the little seedlings, and they were transplanting them out into the yard, weren't they? What could that mean, though, for God's kingdom? I'll tell you. Once we've started growing and we're following God and He's working and trimming and getting us to grow better, someday He's going to transplant us from this world, where? Into heaven. And then we get to live there forever with Him in a beautiful garden. Now, there were some of the seedlings, and I don't know if the video I'm showing you says it, but there's some seedlings that don't grow right. They're wilted and bent, and they just won't obey what the person growing them wants. What do you think happens to those seedlings? They get plucked out and thrown into the fire. Where would that be? I don't even want to think about that. Should we act the way God wants us to? When He's training us, should we be thankful for that? And follow His lead instead of fight Him? I think so. Because I'll tell you what, I want to see all of you planted in heaven with me for all eternity. Well, that's our lesson for today, and I hope you liked it. And if nothing else, you learned something about how to prune your plants, haven't you? I'll talk to you next week. Goodbye.
We hope you had a great time at Bible Explorers. See you all next week